$110 billion. That's not an equity raise, Maya. That's a GDP.
And what is OpenAI doing with SoftBank's money? Buying a streaming network? TBPN? Make it make sense.
It makes perfect sense. Content is data. They're going full Hollywood.
Oh, come on. Fujisimo just bought a very expensive distraction, but fine. The deal desert is officially dead.
Completely dead. 40% of Q1 deals had an AI sticker on them. So who else is opening their wallets? The rundown. So the deal desert is officially over. Analysts are finally calling the time of death on the drought. And honestly, looking at the tape this morning, they are right.
It is a total flood. We have 3 mega deals north of $30 billion crossing the wire just this week. Google officially closed Wiz, $32 billion for cloud security.
Plus global infrastructure partners and EQT teaming up to swallow AES Corp, $33.4 billion. That is a massive infrastructure flex. PE confidence is totally back now that rates have stopped giving everyone whiplash.
Do not forget Goldman finalizing the Innovator Capital Management buy, scooping up $31 billion in assets just to beef up their active ETFs. But the one that really made me do a double take? Unilever.
The spice deal.
Right. Unilever is combining its foods business with McCormick. The math implies a $44.8 billion enterprise value just for the Unilever unit.
I actually love this play. It is perfect synergy. McCormick gets massive global distribution and Unilever finally streamlines. It is a textbook win-win.
Oh, come on. Textbook win-win? Unilever has been desperate to dump that sluggish grocery portfolio for years. If you look at the historical growth rates for their food unit, it is practically flat. They just finally found a buyer willing to swallow a massive multiple for mayonnaise and bouillon cubes.
You always ruin the romance of a good consumer staple merger. People need flavor, Maya.
People need revenue growth, Nate, but fine. The real growth right now is in biopharma. The first quarter saw 41 deals worth nearly $55 billion. Analysts are already projecting 2026 to hit record highs.
Meanwhile, the packaging sector is just sweating in the corner. Private equity is totally icing them out. There is way too much geopolitical uncertainty with the Iran conflict messing with supply chains.
It is a total split screen. You have packaging freezing up, and then you have tech just setting money on fire. Which brings us to the stat of the day. 40% of all closed deals in Q1 involved an AI component.
40%. That is just absurd. And nobody is throwing around more weight right now than OpenAI.
Exactly. $110 billion equity raise changes your spending habits. Next up, we are breaking down why OpenAI is using that Amazon and Nvidia cash to buy streaming network TBPN, and why Sam Altman is suddenly going Hollywood. The big one.
$110 billion. I just need to say that out loud so my brain can actually process the number. Amazon, Nvidia, SoftBank, all writing checks for an equity raise that looks more like the GDP of a small European country.
And what does OpenAI do with their shiny new mountain of cash? They go Hollywood. Fujisimo gets up there and announces they are buying TBPN. An AI lab is buying a streaming business, Nate. I read the press release 3 times to make sure it was not a joke.
See, my banker brain loves this. It is a pure distribution play. You don't raise $110 billion just to build better chatbots. You raise it to own the screen.
Oh, come on. Since when does OpenAI want to program your Friday night movie lineup? The footnotes on this pivot are giving me whiplash. Streaming is a cash incinerator. Why buy the pipes when you are supposedly building a superintelligence?
Because content is training data, Maya. And if you own the platform, you own the feedback loop. Think about it. They aren't just buying a streamer. They're buying a captive audience to test generative video, dynamic scripts, personalized media. It is brilliant.
It is expensive, is what it is. And it feels like a massive distraction. Look at the data for Q1. 40% of all closed deals involved an AI component. 40%. Every company on Earth is buying AI right now, and the biggest AI company on Earth is buying television.
Hey, maybe they know something we don't. But you have to admit, this officially kills the narrative that M&A is dead. The deal desert is over.
The macro environment definitely shifted. We have stabilizing interest rates and actual clarity on trade tariffs. We just saw Google officially close that $32 billion Wiz acquisition, plus Unilever and McCormick combining foods for almost $45 billion. The big checks are clearing again.
Even the PE guys are waking up. We have Global Infrastructure Partners and EQT taking down AES for $33.4 billion. The dry powder's finally getting deployed.
True, but don't ignore the defensive plays OpenAI is making in the background. While everyone is staring at the streaming deal, I am hearing whispers they are already lining up their next target.
Wait, really? They literally just announced TBPN.
Yep. Word is they are circling an AI security company called PromptFu next, because when you launch into consumer media, you suddenly have a massive new attack surface.
Speaking of attack surfaces, not everyone is popping champagne right now. While tech and biopharma are throwing billions around, there is a whole sector quietly panicking about geopolitics and the Middle East.
The packaging guys.
Exactly. We need to talk about why private equity is suddenly freezing them out. Voices. So, the consensus from the street this morning is that the deal dessert is officially over. Everyone is claiming stabilizing rates and tariff clarity just brought private equity back from the dead.
I read those same analyst notes, and honestly, they are wearing some incredibly thick rose-colored glasses.
You are not buying the resurgence? Come on, Maya. Biopharma alone is projecting near record highs for 2026. They just logged 41 deals in Q1 worth almost $55 billion.
I buy the resurgence in pockets. $55 billion is real money, but declaring the whole desert is blooming is just lazy narrative spinning.
Spoken like a true skeptic who hates joy?
I like joy when the data supports it. Look outside the sexy sectors. Look at industrial packaging.
We are talking about a massive biopharma wave, and you immediately pivot to cardboard boxes.
Because private equity loves cardboard boxes. Packaging is a classic PE bellwether. And right now, geopolitical instability around the Iran conflict has PE totally iced out of that space. They are sweating over supply chain shocks and pausing everything. So no, the desert is not over. The water is just pooling in very specific places.
Okay, fair. The rising tide is not lifting the cardboard boats, but when 40% of all closed deals in Q1 had an AI component attached to them, it is hard not to feel like the drought broke.
I will give you the AI rainstorm. That is practically a monsoon.
Exactly. Which brings us to the biggest rainmaker of them all. We need to talk about Fiji Simo announcing OpenAI is buying TBPN, because an AI giant swallowing an entertainment streaming business is a massive pivot. Spill the tea. So everyone in tech and biopharma is basically popping champagne right now. You walk into any steakhouse in Midtown and it's just wall-to-wall managing directors celebrating the end of the deal desert.
I mean, they have a reason to celebrate. Biopharma alone did 41 deals in Q1. That's nearly $55 billion. Stabilizing rates and PE confidence actually exist again. It's not just a narrative.
Exactly. But you know who is absolutely not popping champagne? The packaging sector. They're sweating through their Patagonia vests right now.
Oh, completely. But they brought it on themselves. They got ridiculously overvalued during the pandemic shipping boom, and now private equity won't touch them.
Wait, I have to push back there. It's not just valuation hangovers. The geopolitical risk right now, especially with the Iran conflict, is completely icing out the supply chain. PE firms are looking at the shipping lanes and just closing their pitch books.
Okay, fair point on the supply chain. But I read the footnotes on a couple of these stalled packaging deals, and the EBITDA adjustments they're trying to pass off are hilarious. They're basically classifying normal freight costs as one-time geopolitical anomalies.
That's classic banker math right there. I respect the hustle, but nobody's buying it. You can't just wave a wand and call regular shipping costs a black swan event.
Right? And while packaging is crying over freight costs, the AI folks are just buying everything in sight.
Which is wild considering 40% of all closed deals in Q1 had an AI component. It's a total land grab.
And speaking of land grabs, we need to talk about OpenAI's next target, because apparently buying a whole streaming network wasn't enough. Now they're reportedly circling PromptFu to lock down AI security.
Oh, I have thoughts on that. The security play is fascinating. Tomorrow's radar. I'm telling you, banking is the real radar item for tomorrow. Eased regulatory hurdles mean we're on track for the highest deal volume in 7 years.
You sound like a guy who just dusted off his old pitch books.
Hey, I resemble that, but look at biopharma. 41 deals for nearly $55 billion in Q1 alone. The deal desert is officially over.
Sure, unless you're in the packaging sector. They're absolutely sweating the geopolitical mess right now. Private equity is totally iced out there. But I'm not watching packaging or banking tomorrow. I'm watching OpenAI.
Again, we literally just talked about them buying a streaming network.
Because they aren't done. Word is they're snapping up PromptFoo next.
Wait, Prompt who?
PromptFoo, it's an AI security company. The ink is barely dry on that $110 billion raise, and they're already buying companies to plug their security gaps.
Buy the Band-Aid instead of fixing the code yourself. Classic tech move.
Exactly. Keep refreshing those SEC filings tomorrow morning. We'll see who else is going shopping.